That's the 5x ROI I get on Facebook ads using this simple, repeatable two-phase system. And I'm going to walk you through my two-phase system so you can hit a golden 5x ROI or more, so you can scale to $10 or even $100,000 a month in pure profit. I'm Dylan and I run Catalyst Holdings, a B2B ad agency that currently did about $280,000 last month, in addition to our portfolio of companies that does over $10 million per year. And my goal is to teach you everything that I know to help you hit $25,000 to $50,000 per month, so you then consider partnering with me to scale to multi-six figures per month and beyond. All right, so phase one with scaling your ads is going to be the testing phase. And phase one is going to have 4 simple steps. Number 1 is your ad account structure. Number 2 is your creative strategy. Number 3 is your landing page. And number 4 is what to look for after we get data. Okay, so here I've made a super simple visual representation that's going to help you deeply understand the concepts that we talk about in this video today. So getting into phase number 1 is the creative offer and testing phase, which is going to be your first $0 to $5,000 in spend. Now, it could be your first $1,000 in spend. It could take $8,000 in spend, but on average, amongst the hundreds and hundreds of businesses that I've worked with, we usually see it somewhere between the $3,000 and $5,000 in spend. And like I said, the purpose of the creating testing phase is to find the winning offer positioning / creative. So first of all, we'll get into the ad set structure. So the way that we want to structure this is to have a campaign set to ad set budget optimization. So we're not going to do campaign budget optimization for this. And then inside of that campaign, we're going to have a whole bunch of different ad sets with either only one creative or one type of creative per ad set. So the reason that we're doing this is because we want Facebook to allocate all of our spend equally amongst all of our creatives. So it gives us a fair shot of accurately seeing which one are the winning creatives and angles and which one are the losing creatives and angles. And within these creatives, and we'll get into creative strategy and how we want to do this in a bit, but the overall idea is that every single ad set should either have a completely different style of creative or a completely different offer positioning. And what I mean by offer positioning is the different unique selling proposition that you lean into. So one offer positioning could be the fact that you do a one-time payment and then there's no monthly fees. One offer positioning could be where you just talk about the high dream outcome that you can deliver. One offer positioning could be the fact that you can get everything set up in less than 3 days, right? And different, kind of value props that you're going to lead into with your ads belong in each ad set, okay? So when we go into the ad sets as well, all ad sets here should have the same targeting settings, again, because we want the data to be consistent. If we have one target demographic that we're going after in one, and then another target demographic that we're going after in another, that leaves too many variables. And with the ad set setup, we always do the location, right? So that's usually going to be USA. Sometimes, depending on your offer, it could be US, Canada, UK, Australia. And sometimes, depending on your offer, again, it could be even further than that. But generally speaking, we either stick to the big 4, US, Canada, Australia, or UK, or just the US if it's just an American-based company. I always use Advantage Plus audience targeting. And the reason that I do this is because Facebook's AI has gotten really, really good. So we don't necessarily have to tell it to target plumbers or tell it to target homeowners or whatever the case may be, because what Facebook is going to do is it's going to read the metadata and it's going to read the copy in both the actual text that you have there as well as the actual ad itself. And based on what that copy says, it will then show it to the right people. In regards to the demographic, if there is any demographic restrictions that you have, like as in you only target males or you only target females, you can include that. If not, I just leave it broad. And then the last thing is the objective, which when we're scaling these accounts is usually going to be a call-based objective, right? Sometimes if you're getting a lot of sales, like a lot of sales frequently, then you can optimize for conversions. But unless you're getting upwards of 30 to 40, 50 sales per month, you're going to want to stick to a call-based objective. Okay. Now, getting into the creative strategy. So I'll actually link the first video in the description about how you can super easily create killer Facebook ads in less than 60 seconds that we've been running even in our own account for 3 to 4 months that are still performing to this day. Now, all you do is you essentially take your winning ads. You take your winning ads or you find winning ads that other people are running. You download the transcript of that ad. And then once you have that transcript of that ad, you head over to Claude.ai, where you can basically give Claude the details of your offer, your niche, your service delivery, how the whole process works. and then ask Claude AI to rewrite the current ad format that you're giving it with the details of your offer. And what it will do is in literally 30 to 40 seconds, it will spit you out high performing creatives that have already been proven to win. Now, I have an entire detailed video on exactly how to do that step by step without missing a single piece of it, so you clearly understand it, and I will link that in the description. Now, beyond that, the next important thing that we want to cover is the landing page, okay? I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different companies. We've generated millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in verified revenue online, okay? And not once have I ever needed a 2-hour complicated webinar to sell something. And the reason being, I don't care what Iman Gadzhi says, I don't care what, no matter who you're targeting, especially if you're going after a sophisticated market. But the reason being is because from what I've found is that if you need to provide 13 plus hours of free value in webinars to get somebody to buy your thing, because they don't want to buy what you sell. And so instead, you have to sit there and make them like you, right? You look at like what Iman Gadzhi or what all these guys are doing, and then at the end of the day, they're selling some BS, not so valuable course. Or even if it is a very valuable course, it's inherently not a very good offer because of so much effort and sacrifice that you have to make as a consumer and as a buyer to actually get the result through their mechanism that they're giving to you, right? And so because they can't just say, hey, buy my course. If you don't like it, you don't pay, because otherwise nobody would buy the course. They have to make these super complex trainings and funnels just to get you to consume and to buy their stuff. Now, on the flip, straight pitches with absolutely no free value can print money when you have a good offer, right? When you, like, if I was to go to you and say, hey, in the next 3 days, I will set you up a cold email system that can send you up to 5,000 emails per day, and with a good offer can scale you to $100,000 a month or beyond, and it's only going to cost you like $500 a month to run this system, you would be interested. You would book a call and you would buy my thing. And I know that because that's one of the offers that we're running inside of the ad account that I showed you earlier, right? We don't have a complex free training. We don't have anything like that. We just sell something that people actually want to buy. And so as a result, they do. Okay. Now, offer creation is the most important part of your make or break ability to scale your ad account and to actually make a really profitable funnel, especially if you don't want to go through and create long webinars and do all this crazy complex email marketing, retargeting, all that kind of stuff. We don't do any retargeting. We don't do any of that. We just create offers that people actually want to buy. Okay. And so because that is so important, I'm going to link a detailed video in the description that gives you a full rundown on exact steps and processes that we follow to create these offers that people actually want to buy. And here's the kicker. We leverage the laws of supply and demand to be able to deliver on these offers without you actually changing your service delivery, right? Because there's 3 ways to create a irresistible offer. Number 1 is you sell to a market that is in high demand of a service. And so what that would look like, let's say you're targeting, home service-based businesses. Well, all you have to do is you find a sub niche within that home service business that is in high demand and is rarely ever targeted by other agencies for the service that you provide. That's solution number 1. Solution number 2 is sell a service that is in high demand to the market. For example, the service that we're running right now, yes, we're in a very saturated niche. We help other B2B companies and agency owners. Despite that, because we have a service that is in very high demand, an automated system that can be set up very quickly and get you a large stream outcome, it is in high demand and we were able to do very well on that offer. Now, the third option, which is the one that I never recommend that you do, is that if you are in a saturated market and you're selling a service that everybody else is also selling, the only way to create an irresistible offer with that is then to just lower your price, right? And that's just how the laws of supply and demand work. So that was a little snippet of it, but in the description, I'll link an entire how to create an offer training document. Okay, now here's the last thing that is extremely important for you to know. And I'm actually going to share with you a very funny story about this. So about a month ago, I actually brought on a new media buyer. Now this media buyer has worked with some massive companies. And as we're beginning to scale into these $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month ad spend budgets, I wanted to bring on somebody who had a little bit more experience spending these very large amounts of money on a single campaign. So I brought this guy on and he kind of set up my ad account and he kind of took it over and whatnot. And he launched a new campaign for us. And as he launched the new campaign, we were spending about $1,500 US per day on that campaign. In about 24 hours, I said, hey, like I was kind of noticing in Slack that our leads were kind of dry, our appointments were kind of dry. And I was like almost kind of wondering if like the ads were actually spending money. And so then I log into my Facebook ad account and I see that we spent about $1,600 and we've booked 2 calls. And for context, before this, our cost per book call was around $200. And so I go to the media buyer and I'm like, hey, buddy, we have an $800 cost per book call for 2 calls right now. Like, what is going on here? And the media buyer just texts me back in Slack and he says, don't worry, let it cook. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I mean, like, I just paid you, you got experience. Like, I was kind of like, I didn't know what to do. I was just, this guy seemingly was just burning my money. And he just told me to, don't worry, let it cook. I just paid him. I said, you know what? Doesn't matter. Let's just let it run. Let's just let it run. If we do a week like this, then we'll really actually have to do something. Well, next thing you know, about 7 to 14 days later, our cost per book call is around $145 amongst our entire account. And our company generated over $120,000 just last week alone. Now, some of that was ads, some of that was their other acquisition channels, but our global ROAS amongst our entire marketing efforts is as high as it's ever been at the scale we've been at right now. And so the reason that happened is because in the beginning, you were going to see a high volatility in terms of cost and quality of book calls, as the pixel won't have enough spend to exit the learning phase, right? Because we are dividing this up and because our main focus in phase number 1 is just specifically to figure out the winning creative, we're not giving the individual ad sets enough data to get those 50 conversions that they need to exit learning phase. So as a result, the individual ad sets are just going to be showing ads to multiple different people and different targets until it finds what it really likes. So what happens in these early phases is sometimes you have extremely low cost per book calls. Sometimes you have extremely high cost per book calls. Some days you'll book like 10 calls and the next day you'll book 0. And that is totally normal. And that's why we're running this for just $3,000 to $5,000 in spend to identify the winners. Because once we've done that, we're going to move on to phase 2. Now, before we get into phase 2, I'm just going to quickly and simply describe to you guys exactly what you guys need to know and look at to determine if this is a winner. And this is going to be a lot simpler than you're probably expecting, because my thought process for deciding if it's a winner or if it's a loser is to use my common sense. Yes, you heard that right. After I've spent $3,000 to $5,000 on a testing campaign, I just look at the ads that I spent the least amount of money to acquire a customer for, or I spent the least amount of money to book a qualified call with, right? And that's just simply all that needs to be done in order to identify the winners and losers. Yes, you can look at your click-through rate and your amount of lead, but all that doesn't really matter. Did I spend a good amount of money on this ad? Did it get me good results? If the answer is yes, I put it into the winning campaign. And if the answer is no, I cut it off. And like, that's simply all you need to do. Just use your common sense with this. Now, getting into the scaling campaign phase. Now, similar to the testing phase, the scaling campaign also has 4 simple steps. Number 1, we're going to cover the ad account structure. Then number 2, we're going to get into optimizing your funnel. Then number 3, we're going to get into optimizing your sales. And then number 4, we're quickly going to cover what you need to expect as you go through these scaling phases. Okay, so now that we're in the scaling phase, the purpose of the scaling phase is to scale winning ads to that golden $100,000 a month. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the winning ads. So let's say this ad was a winner and that ad was a winner and that ad was a winner, but this ad was a loser. In that case, you would take these 3 ads and you would put them into a new campaign. That campaign would be a campaign budget optimization setting, and you would put only just 1 ad set in that campaign with all of the winning ads sent into there, because now you already know that you have winning ads. Like, you know that these ads will convert. So now the next thing to do is to allocate a ton of spend towards a single ad set with a single pixel to get that ad set out of learning phase. So what Facebook can do is it can take your winning ads that you already know are winning ads and begin showing it to the right people over and over and over again and continue to optimize, which is when you're going to get those consistent, stable results that we all dream of when we are marketing for our own business. Now, like I just said, with increased spends towards 1 ad set with proven winning ads, you'll finally be able to exit the learning phase, which is when you get those 50 conversions per ad set, and that will result in a more consistent cost and quality of book calls. Now, one thing that I always do, which is extremely important for you to do as well, is I always allocate roughly 20% of spend to this campaign, and I keep about 20% of my spend in a testing phase, so I'm constantly coming up and constantly finding new winners as well. scale. Because if you just allocate 100% of your spend and you completely stop testing for new winners, eventually those winners will fatigue, and then you'll be left in this peaks and valleys way of marketing, because once you've run out of winners, you have to go back to the testing phase and restart this process. So instead of doing that, I just leave about 20% of my spend inside of that testing phase, and then I can just regularly, once a week, once every 2 weeks, throw the winners into the scaling campaign. Now, once you reach this stage, your ads will no longer be the bottleneck in your business. And so at this point, it's time that we begin to look further down the funnel to begin tweaking the dials to ultimately get the 5 to 10x ROI and scale to those $100,000 a month that we are after. So right around this phase is when I look to begin starting to split test different landing pages. Now, when it comes to split testing your landing pages, the most important thing is your headline. It was once said by David Ogilvy that 80% of your advertising dollar has been spent once the headline has been written. And so the biggest thing that I will always be split testing is different headlines. And then once I've split tested enough headlines and I get it to the point where every headline I split test, it's only giving me marginal increases and whatnot, that's when I can look at, changing the subheader or the button or adding different social proof on the page and whatnot. Now, by the time you reach this stage, you're going to have ads that you already know are winning and are winning for you, along with a landing page that is doing well. And at this point, marketing is no longer going to be the bottleneck in your business, and it's time to shift the majority of your focus towards your setting and your sales process. Now, candidly, I'll be the first one to admit that I am not the best salesperson in the world. I know a whole lot about marketing. Marketing is my bread and butter, as well as creating service delivery and actually servicing clients. However, that was one of the main reasons why I decided to partner with my now business partner, Noah Kent. So what I'm going to do is, in the description, I'm going to link some of his best videos that detail exactly how to build a setting process and set clients, along with a sales process to close those clients. Those videos are going to be able to provide you 10 times more value than I could ever do. And that is why we have been working together and scaling these companies. Now, the last thing here is to understand what it looks like to scale an ad account. And this is just the mental mind frame that you have to go through and you have to understand. Otherwise, you're going to turn the ads off before they could potentially change your life forever. And so when you start spending ads, right? Like, this is just the simplest way to look at it. Let's say this is like break even. Well, the second you start spending ads, every single minute, you're going in the negative, and then you close a client, right? And then you go negative, and then you close another client. And now finally you're in the profit, like you're profitable, you're in the green. Okay. So then what you're supposed to do, if you actually want to make money and if you actually want to build a big business, is then you increase your ad spend. So now you're going back again. You go up here, back again, up here. Okay. Now you're like, okay, it's time to really scale, because maybe you brought in another setter or another closer and you're like, I need to really jack up my ad spend if I'm going to be able to actually provide the opportunities for this new setter and a closer. So now you double ad spend. And now next thing you know, you wait 3 more days and you're back to in the red again. Right? However, a week goes by, that sales pipeline begins to catch up with you, and then you jump way back ahead here in your profitability, and you just keep repeating this cycle, right? And so scaling ads is this constant time where it's like you're making a whole bunch of money, but despite the fact that you're making a whole bunch of money, you're like, oh my God, if I don't close in the next 7 days, I'm going to be back to losing money again. And that's just part of the game of running ads. And anybody can scale an ad account to $100,000 a month or even to $1 million a month. It's just, can you endure this game? And that is the biggest game to play when it comes to advertising and scaling an ad account. Okay. And as I said earlier, scaling an ad account is absolutely useless if you can't close clients. So here is a quick video on the exact sales script that we're using to close our clients.